Ivanovic Ortega, Office Assistant, who also will not be with us today. So that's for the introductions. Now we can come to the minutes. As you all may know, the rapporteur isn't here, but the rapporteur already approved the minutes, and they've been distributed to you, and they were available online. So, unless any of you want to make comments or have some changes to suggest, I take it that we can adopt the minutes. Morgan.
Yes, we can adopt the minutes. I just have one remark, and it's about when we see the minutes first time. Because we discussed it at our last bureau meeting that we would like to have the minutes a bit earlier. So I just want to stress that, and I know there's a lot of workload and everything, but it would be good to have them much earlier than we got them. Within the first 1 or 2 months would be okay, because then we can remember better what has happened. And yes, that's why we have it in the minutes, because it is written in the minutes on item 1.
Okay, the Secretariat promised to improve its performance.
Yes, the point is well taken. We should point out, though, that we also depend on the rapporteur to approve the minutes. I think the previous time it did take some months, but as soon as they are available, they do go online. But we should, and we do commit to trying to expedite that process.
Yes.
Yes, if I may add that this time, I remember the last time you already made this remark, and we really tried to have them earlier. But on top of the process, which is already long, having it approved by the rapporteur, on top of that, the rapporteur changed. So there was this institutional change, so it had to be approved by the rapporteur, who was present in the meeting, but she was no longer the bureau member. So that complicated things a little bit more. But the point is well taken, and we will try this time to be more on time.
Okay, thank you. So I hope next time we don't need to come back on the timing of the report. Okay, then we adopt the minutes. Next thing, of course, is the adoption of the agenda. Maybe I can just take you through the agenda, if you like. First, of course, after we've adopted the agenda, we will have some opening remarks. Then there will be a discussion on the remarks if need be. Then we have a coffee break. Then we will move on to the analytical assessment of implementation reports on the IPDC projects, presentation of the IPDC Special Initiatives, earmarked projects, and the Front and Thrust projects. These will also be followed by a discussion. And then I think one of the more important parts of our agenda today is the IPDC evaluation. Sean Shorshi will then give us a short reminder, introduction. You all read the evaluation report, of course, but I think it's good that Sean brings to our attention the highlights of it, followed by a discussion and a decision. Then we will have to discuss the review of governance, procedures and working methods of the governing bodies of UNESCO. For those who are not in Paris, this is the result of the open-ended working group on governance, which reported to the last General Conference, which also affects the work of IPDC, and I think it's very good that we also include our discussions this smaller review of governance process. Then we will have a short break, and then after lunch, we will resume to discuss the IPDC financial situation, including a breakdown of the funds. And then we will examine the Secretary's proposal for special allocations. And then the other pièce de résistance, so to say, we will start our discussions of the media projects that the Bureau needs to decide upon. As you all know from the documents, there are 9 projects which need further discussion. Then we deserve to have a reception and a drink after that. As I said, at 6. Then tomorrow morning we convene again. We will discuss the continuation of the projects, but I hope that we can move on swiftly to acceleration of the earmarked projects. Continue with the final decision on the figures allocated to both earmarked and non-earmarked funds from the special account. And then, when we've done all the items on our agenda, we also need to look at the financial regulations and, of course, the thematic discussion that will take place at the council. And I hope we can all do that before lunch. And then, as I said, after the lunch, we have a visit of the daily dispatch newspaper of the sites. So that's for the agenda. I hope you can all accept this agenda. Are there any other business?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I would like also to congratulate the Secretary of the preparation of the meeting. We think that the agenda covers all the concerns that we made in our last meeting, and that is very taking an independent position. I would like to stress that it's very, very important that the Secretary has prepared the agenda in due time, taking into account one of the recommendations of the federal conference, particularly the recommendation 62. So I would like to congratulate the Secretariat for upload all the documents in due time in the website. This could help us, for example, to our regional group to make a coordination meeting with our countries in Paris, and then all the countries for the region to are aware what is going to happen. And I think that it's a very good practice that the Bureau should continue, and I hope that also for the next council we will do the same. That the agenda could be really adopt the suggestion for the agenda for the next council, that all the countries could be involved in this process. So this is very imperative, and I would like to suggest to the other regional groups to do the same. To as soon as the Secretariat upload the agenda and all the documents as they have done, all the regional groups should be prepared to interact with all the countries. So we could increase the transparency and the efficiency of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It's very useful that we have everything in time. I think it will surely help, like you say, to have
avions obtenu dans les années précédentes. Donc, nous exprimons nos profondes reconnaissances envers les bailleurs de fonds qui ont donné tant d'appui par rapport aux travaux qu'ils ont abattus au niveau. Et j'aimerais aussi féliciter le président du PIDC aussi bien que les membres pour la mobilisation de ces fonds. Ces contributions ont énormément joué des rôles, surtout dans les bureaux de terrain où nous espérons aussi fournir des fonds de roulement afin qu'ils puissent chacune collaborer avec leurs partenaires pour assurer la pérennité dans leurs interventions sur le terrain. En l'an 2017, l'année dernière, près de 50 projets ont été dûment approuvés, c'est-à-dire 49, à l'exception des contributions sans prévision. Et il y a aussi des contributions pour les projets spéciaux. Il y avait 14 projets avec des contributions prévues. Donc le total était autour de 1,5 million de dollars. L'année dernière, il y avait l'Afrique qui était le plus grand bénéficiaire de soutien et l'Asie avait aussi connu une augmentation légèrement plus par rapport à l'année précédente. Il y avait des contributions à plusieurs aspects des questions d'égalité genre et qui a été récemment revue par une unité d'analyse au regard de genre et d'égalité. Et le genre et les médias aussi étaient les domaines les plus appuyés dans l'an 2017, aussi bien que le journalisme investigatif, aussi bien que les réformes des lois. Des aspects clés de ce projet sont présentés dans le rapport pour la mise en œuvre et qui fera objet de discussion ultérieurement. Donc cela couvre un peu l'historique des projets en question et qui ont fait objet de discussion et sur lesquels nous étions convenus l'année dernière. Maintenant, parlons des initiatives spéciales. Nous avons un projet sur cela, mais je vais brièvement faire une synthèse des faits saillants sur les initiatives spéciales. Il y a le mécanisme de restitution de rapport au regard de la sécurité des journalistes et les cas d'impunité. Ceci est une requête provenant du Conseil du PIDC qui requiert que le secrétariat ou bien qui a demandé que le directeur général demande que les États fournissent des informations au regard des suivis judiciaires dans les cas signalés des tueries des journalistes. Et ces informations sont collectées annuellement et soumises au Conseil chaque année et donc il y aura un rapport annuel soumis auprès du Conseil. Et de manière intermittente, des résolutions de 2011, entre ces années, le Conseil, le même mécanisme de PIDC, a fait la collecte de ces informations, n'a pas soumis cela au Conseil, mais le rapport qui a été dûment élaboré sur cette tendance. Cela signifie que chaque année, le mécanisme de PIDC demande aux États pour signaler les cas d'impunité commises contre les journalistes et l'un des résultats clés, c'est que nous voyons beaucoup plus de redevabilité et beaucoup plus de réactivité des États par rapport à la transmission au signalement de ces cas d'abus et de violation des droits des journalistes. Auparavant, le nombre de réponses a augmenté du tiers des États à jusqu'aux 3/4 des États maintenant qui assurent la réactivité et qui fournissent les retours comme exigé. Nous avons aussi fourni des canevas pour aider les États dans la collecte de données au regard de ces requêtes. Ce sont des mécanismes à titre volontaire pour pouvoir augmenter et nous constatons qu'effectivement il y a une augmentation de la réactivité des États par rapport au signalement des cas d'abus de violation des droits des journalistes. Une autre initiative spéciale dont mention a été faite, ce sont les indicateurs. Surtout, vous savez que l'UNESCO est à pied d'œuvre pour développer des indicateurs, pour bâtir sur notre expérience au regard, n'est-ce pas, des médias. Et nous servons aussi des indicateurs Internet en adoptant un mécanisme d'universalité qui a été adopté par les États membres en 2015 au cours de la conférence générale. Suite à plusieurs rencontres PIDC. Le secrétariat a organisé des levées de fonds et organisé des consultations pour voir ce que les gens pensent doivent être les composantes de ces indicateurs et quelles doivent être les forces motrices de ces indicateurs. Et dans la première phase, plus de 1000 acteurs ont été consultés et plus de 2000 rencontres ont été tenues de par le monde. Et les contenus aussi, il y a eu 14 événements. Nous avions eu 150 groupes d'acteurs qui ont donné des retours, et le secrétariat est à pied d'œuvre avec des experts et consultants pour pouvoir peaufiner et améliorer les indicateurs, pour pouvoir les projeter en mai et faire une phase pilote entre juin et juillet. Et la version finale des indicateurs seront soumis auprès du Conseil du PIDC en novembre pour obtenir l'endossement. Et c'est effectivement le Conseil qui est l'instance dont relève les compétences pour l'aval qu'il faut donner pour les indicateurs, surtout lorsque nous avions eu à parler des indicateurs relatifs au cas de violation des droits des journalistes. Aussi, l'éducation relative aux journalistes. Nous continuons à développer des ressources, surtout les ressources pour les indicateurs dans le domaine du journalisme, y compris le domaine de l'environnement, comment les journalistes pourraient aussi enseigner les étudiants en matière de fausses informations, comment faire la distinction entre informations réelles et fausses informations. Et pour ce qui est des initiatives spéciales, nul n'est sans savoir que le PIDC a ce qu'on appelle le développement orienté ou bien ancré vers les médias afin d'augmenter le développement de la presse, et nous cherchons à faire une distinction entre les différents ODD. Donc l'UNESCO, à travers le mandat de PIDC, l'UNESCO a pu sécuriser au niveau du groupe des statistiques et au cours de l'Assemblée générale l'indicateur 16.10, le droit fondamental d'accès aux informations, et le secrétariat est le canal à travers lequel les rapports sont transmis en ce qui concerne l'ODD 16, et le PIDC est le mécanisme par lequel l'UNESCO assume son rôle en tant que l'agence de rassemblement des éléments par rapport à 1632 qui porte sur les droits à l'accès d'informations et les informations qui sont collectées au regard de la sécurité des journalistes, et les cas d'impunité sont soumis auprès de la commission chargée des droits humains dans le système audiovisuel, qui est aussi relatif à 1631, et à faire aussi avec les droits de protection des journalistes. Il y a aussi un événement de très haut profil qui démontre l'importance de l'accès aux informations de qualité, la force des médias, et cela renforce aussi les composantes clés des ODD relatives à cela. Et l'année dernière, au cours des assises au siège de l'UNESCO, nous avions eu des rencontres comportant RDC, Soudan, Uruguay, Yémen et plusieurs autres pays, et nous représentions le représentant de la Mongolie pour la tenue de ces rencontres. Donc il y a 11 événements du terrain qui ont eu lieu le 26 septembre, qui est la journée. Ces discussions ont couvert plusieurs acteurs et la campagne médiatique a été très réussie. Il y avait plus de 31 millions d'auditoires, et c'était effectivement des questions d'actualité. Et les discussions du PIDC a couvert plus de 700 000 auditoires. Et sur la base de ce succès, nous envisageons réorganiser ceci le 21 septembre cette année. Mais l'activité principale pour marquer le 28 septembre pour la journée internationale d'accès aux informations, si ce n'était pas pour l'initiative de PIDC, de l'UNESCO et surtout le président, nous n'aurons pas eu bénéficié de la la visibilité pour célébrer cette journée internationale, pour souligner l'importance d'accès à l'information et la protection des médias pour le développement durable. Ainsi, la phase d'un rapport initial sur lequel chaque État s'était engagé le mois dernier, septembre 2017, avec des rencontres, le rapport de terrain, à part les documents qui feront objet de discussions tout à l'heure. J'aimerais aussi signaler que les évaluations externes concluent que les bénéfices uniques du PIDC justifient le coût de gouvernance spécifique encouru au fil des années. Et cela répond clairement à la question cruciale qui a été posée par le précédent CI, qui a fait appel à une investigation au regard de l'avantage coût et le projet. Et cela met à lumière, n'est-ce pas, l'unicité, parce que cela couvre plusieurs potentiels que d'autres organisations de la presse et des médias ne font pas. Et là, il s'agit des organisations bilatérales, étatiques ou bien privées. Le PIDC a cette initiative des États membres et c'est le seul organe au sein du système onusien qui se lance dans le développement des médias et qui apporte de la valeur ajoutée par rapport au rôle crucial de la presse et la protection des cas de violation contre les droits fondamentaux et aussi assure plus de transparence dans les processus décisionnels. Le PIDC, bien sûr, aussi était confronté à certaines difficultés et a proféré certaines recommandations qui feront objet de discussion au cours de nos assises, et je pense que le bureau va trouver des voies et moyens d'aborder certaines propositions découlant de l'évaluation et faire des bonnes recommandations auprès du Conseil afin d'identifier la voie à suivre, afin de renforcer la valeur de ces évaluations. J'aimerais de tout cœur remercier les évaluateurs, Chenachuku, pour leur bonne évaluation et pour être venus ici pour échanger de vive voix avec vous. La dernière question qui doit être signalée, c'est la tenue prochaine de l'assise du Conseil qui porterait sur les évaluations. Donc, vos délibérations constitueraient des préparatifs pour les évaluations finales du Conseil. Il y a aussi la revue qui se fera par le Conseil de l'UNESCO, et ce qui sera tranché ici influerait bien sûr sur les prises de décision, et la rencontre du Conseil portera sur les indicateurs de l'Internet et les débats thématiques. Les débats thématiques, le secrétariat propose, comme nous allons en discuter tout à l'heure dans la réunion, pour se pencher sur comment renforcer le suivi au regard du 1632 portant sur les droits d'accès aux informations et les lois relatives à cela et aux EDD. Et bien sûr, nous allons élire un nouveau président, élire un nouveau bureau, et nous allons contacter les présidents des groupes régionaux de l'UNESCO pour pouvoir lancer le processus pour les nouvelles nominations. Donc, en qualité de résumé, j'ai abordé les rapports de revue, les initiatives spéciales, les ODD 1632, les discussions de PIDC et les événements prévus par rapport aux rencontres du Conseil. Encore une fois, j'aimerais de tout cœur remercier les barres de fonds pour nous aider, pour nous avoir aidés pour la réalisation de ces rencontres, et les membres du personnel du PIDC pour les travaux si bien abattus pour les préparatifs pour la tenue de cette rencontre. Nous espérons que les États membres dûment représentés ici pourront aussi faire leur retour à leurs supérieurs pour que nous puissions bénéficier de plus d'appui, que ce soit en nature ou bien financièrement, parce que c'est une opportunité importante pour que les États membres démontrent à leurs supérieurs, à leurs États, que l'UNESCO pourrait aider à apporter la valeur ajoutée nécessaire pour mettre vraiment à l'avant nos efforts collectifs. Donc, au nom de l'UNESCO et du directeur général, je vous souhaite des délibérations fructueuses. Merci de votre aimable attention. Bien sûr, si vous avez des commentaires et réactions, je suis toujours prêt à les y répondre, bien que nous savons que tout cela sera discuté en plus de détails au cours des sessions à venir. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que vous avez des réactions? Ou bien, est-ce que c'est spécifique à ce qu'il a dit? Ah, ok, allez-y. Merci beaucoup et merci pour les travaux de manière herculéenne que vous avez abattus au niveau du secrétariat et les travaux que vous avez pu mener au cours de la précédente année, et nous sommes ravis de voir comment les choses évoluent. J'ai une remarque. Premièrement, je pense qu'il est très important que nous transmettions quelques éléments de réflexion à Albana, notant qu'elle n'est pas ici et en raison de son état maladif, et nous devons aussi apprécier les efforts si bien abattus par elle. Il serait au moins gentil de notre part d'envoyer quelques fleurs à notre sœur en état maladif, au moins, et essayer, n'est-ce pas, de lui transmettre certains mots d'encouragement, si possible. Et j'aimerais que nous parlions ultérieurement, parce que vous avez aussi mis en lumière les discussions du PIDC et les travaux abattus par rapport à cette problématique. Il me semble que cela a été jusque-là très réussi. La seule chose que j'aimerais aussi demander dans un premier temps, c'est bien sûr à vous, Monsieur le Président, de trancher là-dessus avec nous. J'aimerais que nous ayons au moins 2 ou 3 mises à lumière au regard des pourparlers, au regard des PIDC, les impacts et les points de focus, quels sont les points saillants, quelles sont les retenues clés que nous pourrons identifier comme étant les choses clés par rapport aux impacts escomptés et à partir desquels on peut dire que voilà les résultats. Essayons de mettre cela à lumière. Bien sûr qu'on va revenir à cela au cours des discussions. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Je pense que nous allons revenir à plus de détails au regard des discussions relatives du PIDC. Mais, Monsieur le Président, en tant que Président, j'aimerais aussi faire une allocution d'ouverture. Dans un premier temps, j'aimerais remercier M. Kay pour son introduction. Il a jeté les bases importantes et il a aussi évoqué le contexte élargi du PIDC, la raison d'être de nos assises lorsque nous sommes en train de discuter des projets, le contexte au sens large et les impacts que le PIDC a pu réaliser jusque-là. Et M. Guy a expliqué bien sûr que malgré la taille petite qu'elle soit du PIDC, les travaux abattus par le PIDC sont de taille et aideraient davantage dans le développement de la presse. Et cela, bien sûr, aura un effet multiplicateur positif. Pour moi, mais évidemment, je ne suis qu'un substitut et par conséquent, je ne vais pas faire une allocution trop extensive. Et les autres membres du bureau m'ont demandé de transmettre leurs sincères remerciements envers vous pour avoir pu accéder à eux. Il serait merveilleux d'envoyer des fleurs, n'est-ce pas, un bouquet de fleurs à la Hollande, à elle, pour que nous puissions symboliser notre profonde reconnaissance envers elle pour les travaux si bien abattus par elle. Comme vous le savez, Albana est une personne qui travaille toujours à 200% d'elle-même. Et malheureusement, en raison de son état maladif, elle ne peut pas travailler à 200%. Le médecin lui a imposé de ne pas travailler et de rester jusqu'à ce qu'elle puisse se rétablir jusque vers les périodes d'été, lorsqu'elle aura regagné les forces. Et cela signifie que la famille, n'est-ce pas, l'a privé de son portable et lui a privé de son ordinateur portable. C'est pour cela que quand vous tentez de la joindre au téléphone, vous n'arrivez pas à la joindre parce que la famille et le médecin, sur les ordres du médecin, lui ont privé de son portable parce qu'elle ne doit plus, pour l'instant, être impliquée dans les activités pour qu'elle puisse se rétablir. Sinon, elle m'a demandé de vous remercier de tout cœur pour, n'est-ce pas, votre degré d'appréciation, mais elle doit, comme indiqué par le médecin, laisser le portable pour un instant, afin qu'elle puisse se rétablir en entier. Donc, notre prière fervente, c'est qu'elle puisse, n'est-ce pas, se rétablir en temps utile. Alors, il m'incombe de vous faire un retour comme président Le président du PIDC continue à se concerter avec les États membres et c'est une très très bonne activité qui a été menée par elle pour aussi mettre à jour les activités réalisées. L'année dernière, elle a visité plus de 30 délégations et aussi l'état d'avancement des réunions d'état d'avancement. Le fait, l'acte ainsi posé, l'acte posé en contribuant pour le devenir positif du programme. Et comme Guy a déjà dit, elle a de manière réussie, à travers la mobilisation de fonds, nous avons connu une augmentation des contributions par pays. Et comme suivi au regard de ces efforts, le secrétariat du PIDC a identifié un nombre de rapports et de notes conceptuelles qui étaient soumis à des barres de fonds potentiels qui aussi ont aidé à augmenter le niveau d'appui provenant des barres de fonds. La Hollande a aussi alloué de manière spécifique des suite à des demandes spécifiques au compte spécial de PIDC et Lituanie, Malaisie, Espagne, aussi bien que tous les autres pays déjà cités aussi ont contribué. Il est aussi à noter que les discussions de PIDC, qui est vraiment l'idée d'Albana, et nous allons certainement y revenir, et que cela a été très réussi et c'est un événement très innovant qui nous a énormément aidé pour mieux conscientiser les populations à travers la déclaration ou bien la célébration de la journée internationale. Je me souviens que la première fois que nous avions fait cela, nous avions abordé des questions importantes en France et nous avions pu primer juste après un footballeur fameux. Cela démontre à quel point cette activité a été prise en compte. Bien évidemment, l'appui de la Hollande n'était pas le seul appui. La Finlande, Lituanie, la Suède aussi ont contribué. Et je pense que le succès du PIDC n'était pas seulement au niveau des pourparlers à Paris, mais aussi au niveau des régions, en coopération avec les différents responsables de terrain de l'UNESCO, en collaboration avec le secrétariat qui a su si bien abattre ses travaux. Et Alvana a vraiment pu talonner les responsables de terrain pour que les discussions puissent être concrétisées à travers les mises en œuvre. Et les délibérations d'aujourd'hui et de demain porteront sur l'évaluation du PIDC. Nous devons remercier la Finlande pour avoir rendu possible la tenue de ces assises et nous sommes ravis qu'une recommandation pour une étude future du programme a été clairement formulée. Les recommandations, comme vous le savez, demandent à ce qu'il y ait des actions à mener qui feront objet de discussions en détail ultérieurement dans la journée et c'est crucial pour chacune ici à cette assise de discuter de la voie à suivre et comment, n'est-ce pas, à mettre en œuvre les recommandations et préparer l'approbation finale par le conseil d'administration et le conseil en mois de novembre. Et cela donnera l'élan qu'il faut et l'appui qu'il faut pour aboutir aux conclusions positives au regard des recommandations stratégiques découlant des recommandations. Et je pense que nous aurons en mesure de mettre à échelle les activités pour pouvoir atteindre un niveau supérieur d'impact au regard du développement de la presse et aussi l'accomplissement des PUODD, des ODD 16, 32 et 31. Je pense que cette rencontre est fort importante pour que nous puissions discuter des questions clés relatives au programme et je suis sûr que grâce à vos apports, nous allons finalement aboutir à des recommandations appropriées à soumettre au Conseil. Et nous devons être fiers des jalons que nous avons jusque-là réalisés et remerciant aux efforts collectifs, plusieurs, n'est-ce pas, maisons de presse ont pu croître, contribuant à renforcer la dispense démocratique dans la plupart des populations pour promouvoir entre autres l'égalité genre et des sociétés plus paisibles. Je vais conclure mon allocution en transmettant un appel vibrant à chacune ici pour utiliser les recommandations des évaluations pour que nous puissions à notre tour, quand nous repartons, motiver nos acteurs clés pour continuer à appuyer le PIDC, battant sur l'élan que nous avons déjà réalisé et exprimant en nouveau une appréciation profonde pour les travaux qui ont été si bien abattus par Abana. Merci de tout cœur pour votre aimable attention. Sur ce, nous avons envisagé que cette rencontre se tienne jusqu'à 10h30 avant de marquer la pause café. Donc, il nous reste assez de temps pour les discussions et je pense que nous avons beaucoup de temps pour les discussions pendant toutes les 2 journées. Mais comme vous le savez, le temps file, le temps file. Donc, si vous avez des remarques, des réactions à faire, je vais vous demander à être aussi concis et bref que possible et notez que les membres du bureau et les vice-présidents sont les premiers orateurs et qui pourraient s'articuler. D'abord, alors, avez-vous des commentaires suite à cette allocution d'ouverture? Rien? Merci, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, et merci pour vos remarques à l'endroit du secrétariat. Monsieur le Président, nous pensons que les travaux du bureau ont connu beaucoup d'améliorations depuis l'année dernière. Nous mettons en compte les commentaires que vous avez faits, aussi bien que les commentaires du secrétariat. Je pense que l'une des questions clés et les impacts clés que le programme pourrait réaliser au cours de cette année, c'est la question de la visibilité du programme. Parce que je me souviens l'année dernière que l'une des préoccupations de la majorité des membres du bureau était le manque de visibilité de nos programmes, en dépit du fait que les objectifs étaient très importants ou bien sont très importants, prenant en compte les 6 priorités dont dispose le programme. Et la question, par exemple, de la mise en œuvre des projets, nous pouvons constater que l'approbation des projets par l'année dernière a été très réussie en raison du fait que nous constatons dans ce document que plusieurs projets étaient répartis de manière équitable et de manière équilibrée avec les 6 priorités indiquées. Et nous pensons qu'il serait de bon augure de se féliciter pour ces travaux si bien abattus par le bureau. Et nous avons aussi à remercier Abana pour avoir mené le processus et le programme. Donc, nous devons transmettre à elle notre profonde reconnaissance et aussi notre prière fervente qu'elle se rétablisse tôt. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne les indicateurs et aussi l'accès aux indicateurs universels sur l'Internet, c'est une question très très importante que le bureau doit prendre en compte au cours des assises de cette rencontre et recommander que ceci pourrait être l'un des faits marquants par rapport aux assises prévues pour la prochaine rencontre du Conseil qui doit mettre en œuvre les décisions prises de la conférence générale qui sont très importantes. Et j'aimerais féliciter le secrétariat pour le processus qu'ils ont initié avec les consultations en ligne et aussi avec les perspectives ou possibilités d'avoir des projets en phase pilote dans certains pays au niveau régional, prenant en compte chaque région concernée. Et pour Équateur est très engagé, Monsieur le Président, et le groupe 3 par rapport à cette initiative. Nous aimerons aussi accentuer la question des discussions du PIDC. Les discussions du PIDC ont, je crois, contribué énormément à la visibilité du programme. Je me souviens que l'année dernière, lorsque nous avions assumé ces responsabilités et nous étions aux assises du précédent conseil, plusieurs pays, au cours de nos assises à Paris, n'avaient aucune idée du programme. Ils ne comprenaient même pas de quoi s'agissait le programme. Et donc, les discussions du PIDC ont donné plus d'enseignements et des améliorations, bien sûr, qui ont été réalisées. Oui, il y a toujours des améliorations qui doivent être apportées. C'est un processus. Et j'aimerais remercier tous les autres pays qui y ont participé. L'Équateur, bien sûr, aimerait aussi en faire plus dans l'avenir. Souvenez-vous que l'année dernière, il n'était pas possible en raison du fait qu'il y avait des modifications ou bien des changements de gouvernement pour Équateur. Par conséquent, nous n'avons pas pu mettre en œuvre l'année dernière, mais nous sommes engagés énormément à continuer. La question d'évaluation, nous pensons comme qui a fait comme remarque, il est très important de souligner les avantages que ces évaluations pourraient apporter au programme. Nous devons prendre en compte ces recommandations et cela doit être transmis au Conseil. Bien sûr, il y a plusieurs recommandations qui ne seront pas possibles à mettre en œuvre dans l'immédiat. Mais par contre, il y a d'autres qui pourraient être faites pour renforcer et assurer plus de visibilité. Le dernier point, comme Guy a dit, portant sur la gouvernance. Nous pensons, Monsieur le Président, que ce processus doit être continu et nous devons continuer à être engagés avec le processus de gouvernance. Souvenez-vous qu'au cours de la dernière conférence générale, nous avions adopté à travers plus de 110 recommandations et le programme avait des recommandations spécifiques que nous recommandons à cette assise qui pourraient être recommandées auprès du Conseil pour être mis en œuvre parce que ces recommandations ne vont pas du tout à l'encontre du programme ni du bureau, mais ces recommandations visent plutôt à renforcer les travaux qui sont réalisés, qui ont été réalisés au fil des précédentes années. Et spécifiquement, cela assure plus de transparence, cohérence et assure beaucoup plus d'interaction entre les États membres et les experts. Parce que c'est ce pont et cette relation qui est très importante. Et je pense que le programme pourrait aussi fusionner toutes les expertises ou bien faire amalgame de toutes les expertises des membres au niveau des bureaux et des membres du Conseil avec les décisions politiques que le Conseil doit adopter au regard de tout cela. Donc, il y a effectivement plusieurs questions qui doivent être présentées auprès du Conseil et je vous transmets un appel vibrant, c'est-à-dire au bureau, d'être très proactif par rapport à cela et aussi proposer quelques questions pour lancer le débat. Parce que vous savez que quelques-unes des préoccupations de préparer pour les discussions du PDC en Mongolie, j'ai appris beaucoup de choses. L'engagement des journalistes, surtout par rapport aux ODD 1632 est une idée très géniale. Et je pense aussi à une version asiatique des discussions du PDC. Et notre ministre des Affaires étrangères avait certaines difficultés au regard du financement de la coopération internationale. Et il était donc nécessaire de gérer cela au niveau local, mais cela aussi a été réussi, bien que cela n'a pas été au beau fixe, parce que le temps aussi était trop court. Le temps a fait défaut, les ressources financières ont fait défaut, et nous n'avons pas eu assez de temps pour échanger entre nous, les orateurs. Il y avait aussi quelques-uns qui monopolisaient les discussions et nous leur avions expliqué de manière soigneuse que nous devions au moins mieux gérer le temps dans les discussions. Et il était accepté que les discussions du PDC soient prises en compte. Cela a été accepté. Et les discussions par rapport aux EDD pour les journalistes a été une question assez houleuse, parce que très souvent nos journalistes abordent les questions de manière générale sans pour autant se lancer dans les spécificités. Il était donc nécessaire de sélectionner les journalistes qui maîtrisaient les domaines concernés, qui s'avèrent très sensibles. Et bien que les journalistes ont couvert beaucoup de questions, ils n'ont pas pu couvrir en profondeur comme escompté. Nous allons organiser une deuxième rencontre en mars. Nous allons organiser une deuxième rencontre dans les mois à venir et nous espérons pouvoir aboutir à plus de profondeur dans nos discussions. Sinon, la précédente rencontre a été merveilleuse et nous avions beaucoup apprécié le canevas qui était proposé. Un deuxième élément, nous avons une campagne pour la journée internationale de la presse et la liberté, la journée internationale de la presse, nous avons prévu quelque chose une journée juste après, c'est-à-dire le 25. Nous avons prévu une activité spéciale. L'année précédente a été difficile pour Mongolie. La Mongolie. Je vais peut-être donner une esquisse d'information au regard de ce qui se passe en Mongolie, ou bien si les autres membres du bureau aimeraient parler, réagir à mon allocution. Je suis ravi d'avoir reçu le rapport d'évaluation. Merci au secrétariat, merci à Sean pour avoir si bien travaillé pour préparer cette évaluation et soumettre le rapport pour discussion. Et certainement que cela nous permettrait de manière avisée à pouvoir identifier les idées nécessaires pour aller de l'avant. Merci. Merci beaucoup pour votre allocution d'ouverture et toutes les informations que vous avez fournies. Merci à tous les collègues et je vous souhaite du succès plein. Je souhaite bonne récupération à Madame Albana et qu'elle puisse, après sa récupération, repartir au service pour continuer ses merveilleux travaux pour le PIDC. Je ne vais pas répéter ce qui a été déjà dit, mais j'aimerais accentuer que le PIDC prête plus d'attention à la diffusion d'informations, parce que lorsque nous parlons de PIDC qui appuie les médias, la presse, n'est-ce pas, et le développement de la communication, nous devons être beaucoup plus présents au niveau de la presse ou bien au niveau du paysage médiatique dans les pays, dans tous les pays. Par exemple, les discussions et les conférences qui sont organisées de manière périodique. Les journalistes ne sont même pas au courant de ces événements. Ils ne sont pas au courant de ces efforts que nous sommes en train de déployer. Par conséquent, je recommande, s'il y a la possibilité d'augmenter la présence du PIDC dans les canaux UNESCO, que ce soit Twitter, Facebook ou bien tous les autres médias sociaux. Sinon, les projets et programmes qui sont organisés par le PIDC n'ont pas la visibilité qu'il faut. La visibilité qu'il faut n'est pas réalisée et par conséquent n'est pas constatée comme escompté par les auditoires ciblés. Par conséquent, j'aimerais accentuer qu'il y ait une amélioration de cette partie de la présence au sein du paysage médiatique par le PIDC. Merci. Oui, je pense qu'on aura l'occasion de revenir sur cette question lorsqu'on aura à parler d'évaluation et comment le PIDC est positionné au niveau de l'UNESCO. Y a-t-il d'autres commentaires suite à cette première partie? S'il n'y a pas de commentaires, s'il vous plaît, marquons la première pause café et revenons dans 15 minutes. Merci.
Hello. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me? Hello, good morning. Good morning. How's the work going on? Hello.
Hello. Yeah, hello. Can you hear? Hello.
that were supported with non-earmarked funds. So you can also see the percentages there, which were also mentioned by advice related to this fund. So if we move to the next slide, so actually we received 37 implementation reports out of the 44 projects that were implemented by external partners. That means an 84% reporting rate, which is not perfect, it's not 100, but it's improving, at least in terms of numbers. Colleagues are sending the reports for many of the projects implemented. In these implementation reports, they were covering, as I said, 37 projects. 5 were already finished, and 32 were ongoing. And I should mention that the 14 had just started. I'm mentioning this because you will see those are related recommendations of this fact that we were actually reporting on projects sometimes that had just started. So on the screen you will see the themes that were covered by these projects. So 7 projects were focusing on supporting media pluralism and independence. 9 were promoting safety of journalists. 2 were countering hate speech. 2 more were supporting law reform, fostering media independence. 6 were conducting media assessments based on either the NDIs or the GenSIs or even the JSIS. And 11, so the highest number, on capacity building for journalists and media managers, including improving journalism education. So this was the most popular thing, I would say. 10% of these projects were gender transformative. This percentage increases to 25% if we mix all the funding modalities. Because again, here I'm only taking into account 37 projects. So as Guy mentioned, actually we have been recently recognized by the Gender Equality Division as the most gender transformative expected result in the CI sector. The key outputs for each of these projects you have in the document. I will not go through them because it will take too much time, but if you have read it and you have questions, you can ask them. So what are the key challenges and lessons learned that arise from the analysis of these implementation reports? Well, the first one is one that we have heard, I think, every year, which is low allocations. So very often we allocate an amount that is much lower than what was requested, and then when the submitter learns about the approved amount, the problems start because they have to adjust, and sometimes this can be done because one particular component is then implemented and not the others, but sometimes it's difficult. So this has been identified as an ongoing problem. Then for some projects, we saw that there are delays in implementation. This is also something that we see every year. And this has to do with the UNESCO administrative requirements. Once they are announced, they are told that they get this support from IPDC, they have to provide bank accounts, they have to provide budget breakdowns, they have to sign contracts. And for some of the projects, this may take time. Sometimes the local beneficiaries do not have the information that is necessary. Sometimes this requires extra time, so that's where the delays arise. Then another challenge that was identified in this analysis is that the preference that this program has for multi-stakeholder processes is, of course, an excellent way of proceeding, and that it's recognized as an added value, but it takes time. For example, setting up a piloting or an organizing committee for an assessment, a country assessment based on the media development indicators, it takes time. You have to mobilize all the stakeholders. So That's the beauty of it, but it takes time. So that's also a source of sometimes delayed implementation. Then in some other cases, of course, the legal national context might be a challenge for achieving results. This is particularly true when the national regulatory frameworks do not comply with international standards, and the project is aiming at promoting international standards in freedom of expression in the development. Then also this report reveals that there is increasing data disaggregation by gender, so that is happening more and more, but it's still lacking in many reports, so this needs to be improved. And finally, the last point is that sustainability or long-term view or vision is lacking in some training projects. So after the training event, the implementation report revealed that there is no follow-up. Then I turn to the analysis of 5 years of analytical reports. And the recommendations for future analytical reports and for improving the reports themselves. So as I mentioned, what we have been providing to you is the analysis of what has been done since last year, the year before the Bureau meeting. So you get a view of what has been implemented this past year. But because of these delays or because of simply the life of projects, because they have until December this year to be implemented, you only see part of the picture. You're not informed of the final impact, because next year you will be informed about the project that you will be approving now. So you will be actually missing the final impact of those approved last year. So to improve this analysis, one of the recommendations is that you are informed of closed projects. So it can be automatically the projects that were approved 2 years ago, or we can have a mix of all those that are simply closed. And it can be a mixture of 2 years ago, 1 year ago, depending on if they are ongoing or not. Second recommendation, the analytical report should include the analysis of the implementation of the past recommendations, because also what this analysis reveals is that there have been very good recommendations in the past, but we lose sight of them sometimes. So that these reports should be structured around recommendations that have been made by past reports, so that they become more visible and you can judge if there are improvements and we're not repeating the same comments over and over. Then another recommendation is that the lessons learned and that these recommendations should be widely shared with field offices in order to improve future project implementation reports. This is, of course, already the case. We already communicate with offices before the Bureau, after the Bureau, but we have to do this in a more effective way. So, for example, already one thing that we have been discussing is that we should have specific sessions during the CI retreats that allow us to really explore with colleagues in how this can be improved and ensure that this is done for the future. Another recommendation is that reports should include how UNESCO resources are used and how they are contributing to the impact of the project. So by resources, it is meant, for example, the indicators or other guidelines, or that this should always be highlighted so that we see how this is being used. So quality of implementation reports is not balanced and sometimes lack meaningful insights to extract lessons learned. So again, this is a challenge, and we have to ensure that the level is raised with our field colleagues. Face-to-face training sessions, for example, during the retreats should help us do that. And finally, the implementation template was already improved for this year. but it could still be more RBM compliant, results-based management compliant. So to ensure that we actually speak about the results and not about outputs, conferences or workshops, but really the real impact. And this still is difficult to get. So we need to keep working on that, and hopefully we can move more RBM compliant template to get there. So there is a bureau decision on this, which will be now screened. I will read it for you. And of course, with your comments, if any amendments, it's only a draft decision as usual. So the Bureau, having discussed this document, may wish to note the key outputs recorded in the implementation reports as forming an important knowledge base that can inform ongoing and future decision making regarding IPDC support to future media development projects. Request the IPDC Secretariat to keep improving the methodology of these analytical reports to ensure lessons learned and recommendations are well taken into account. Request the Secretariat to communicate to field offices and officers failing to submit implementation reports that an absence of a report can jeopardize future allocations to projects in their office. Reconsider budget ceilings for projects to be submitted under the non-earmarked modality, and or consider making budget allocations that are more in line with requested budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Like I said at the beginning, I would like to continue with the next report of Secretariat before we enter the discussion. So item 6 on the IPDC Special Initiatives and IPDC complementary funded trust projects. I would like to give the floor to Diane and to Jihan, but I don't know which one will go first. You will start. Okay, Rosa, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Chair. For this agenda item number 6, you have several documents. You have a report on the special initiatives and emerging issues. Then you have a report on the IPDC earmarked projects. This report has annexes with pictures of these projects, several annexes with color pictures. And then you have a report on funds, IPDC complementary funds in trust projects update, which also has an annex on one particular project so that you can read more about it. So we will start with the report on the IPDC Special Initiatives and Emerging Issues. So as you know, Guy already spoke about the 4 special initiatives, and you will also be updated on the 2 emerging issues that IPDC has considered recently. I will start with the first special initiative very briefly because it was already mentioned in the report of the Secretary, and then my colleagues will follow with information on the other ones. So the first initiative is the mechanism on safety of journalists and the issue of impunity. As you know, since 2008, IPDC has a mandate to follow up actions on the killings of journalists condemned by the DG. And there have been subsequent decisions in 2010, 2012, 2014, and 2016 by the Council on this issue. So as you know, member states have requested to inform UNESCO on the judicial follow-up, and this has allowed us to present a DG report to the IPDC Council every 2 years, and this year this will be done in November. So the update that you should know about since last meeting is that following the decision of the IPDC Council in 2016, which was requesting the report to be expanded to include also best practices in the field of promoting safety of journalists, and to include gender disaggregated information around this issue. So the mechanism has then evolved accordingly, and this year in the request sent by the Director General to Member States, we have included a template so that countries can also report on the positive measures to promote safety of journalists, and they can also report on specific problematic and data on the situation of human journalism. Then you should have already in your bag some examples of the publications that have been. So the booklet.
It has been applied in almost 40 countries. Since 2014, we have completed 17 assessments, 10 of which have been published in Palestine, Jordan, Libya, South Sudan, Curaçao, Mongolia, Myanmar, the Dominican Republic, Madagascar, and Swaziland. Since 2016, the assessments are ongoing in 3 countries, in Jamaica, Guyana, and Malawi. And we expect to publish more studies this year in Uganda, Ghana, Brazil, and Haiti. And we are now seeking more funding to have more assessments in other countries, which include Gambia, Kenya, Mali, Bangladesh, and Colombia. The second one, journalist safety indicators. Since 2014, we have completed 6 assessments in Guatemala, Honduras, Kenya, Nepal, Pakistan, and Iraq. And assessments are still ongoing at the moment in Afghanistan and South Sudan, in addition to a regional study covering Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. But if we can get more funding in the next few years, we will have a separate assessment in Kenya, in addition to Gambia, Mali, Morocco, Palestine, Tunisia, and Colombia. The third one on Internet University indicators, Guy already mentioned a bit part of these indicators, and this will be reported more detailed in the FIT project. But I would like to highlight here that we are now in the third phase of pre-testing and piloting, and in November we would like to present this the final result, the final report to the IPDC Council for endorsement. Okay, I think this was from my part. And now we would like to, first of all, sorry, because we will need to jump to point 2.4.
So I'll continue with 2.4, which is the Global Initiative for Excellence in Journalism Education. This initiative promotes shared excellence in journalism education to enhance sound professional practices, both in the classroom and the newsroom. And within the special initiative, the IPDC published a series of publications on journalism education, which are widely used by educational institutions, which specifically the publication Climate Change in Africa has been translated into Tamil and is now widely used in the Tamil speaking regions. For its part, the publication Module Curriculum for Journalism Education was translated into Chinese. So overall, UNESCO publications in journalism education, they continue to receive enthusiastic endorsements, including through UNESCO's participation in major global and regional conferences, such as the one hosted by the Shanghai International Studies University for Asian Deans of Journalism and Communications in 2016. And in its bid to continue promoting specialized literacies, the IPDC set aside a special allocation to support of the production of the syllabus on fake news and misinformation, which Guy already briefly mentioned. And this syllabus will analyze the changing news ecosystem and the rise of fake news. And the syllabus has been completed and is now being externally and internally peer reviewed, and we hope to have a publication ready by the end of May. Then I think Jan is going to quickly elaborate on 2.3, 2.4. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I would like to continue on 2.4, knowledge-driven media development, which is follow-up to SDGs. On this part, we would like to focus on two SDG indicators, SDG indicator 1610.1 on safety of journalists, and the second one, SDG indicator 1610.2 on access to information. The first one on SDG indicator 1610.1, of which UNESCO is a contributing agency for this SDG indicator. We would like to report that the IPDC's monitoring and reporting mechanism on the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity has continued to evolve. And the information collected through this mechanism has contributed to UNESCO's monitoring and reporting to the UN Secretary General's report on SDG. We already submitted this report to the UNSG in February, and the report itself will be launched by the end of this May this year. And to follow up a meeting on monitoring of safety of journalists under SDG indicator 1610.1, which was held on 28 June 2017 last year in Geneva, IPDC will convene next month a technical consultation meeting with concerned organizations and experts. The desired outcome of this meeting is to strengthen UNESCO's work by exploring greater cooperation between stakeholders in data gathering and new ideas, to brainstorm new ideas for the use of the data. And now on the second SDG indicator, SDG indicator 1610.2 on access to information, of which UNESCO is the custodian agency. The implementation for this activity has started since December last year, and we also already sent the report to the UNSG in New York for the monitoring of the adoption and of the law of information, law to access information. While UNESCO is currently at early phase to where we monitor and report the number of countries that have adopted these guarantees, we are now seeking to expand to the implementation aspect of this SDG indicator. And this, in this way, we are seeking more buy-in by stakeholders at the national level, and to increase use by them of the findings to the monitoring. And in 2018, IPDC will continue to work in building of a mechanism, shared mechanism and approaches in monitoring and reporting of SDG indicator 1610.2. I think that's all.
So as a conclusion, these special initiatives have allowed the IPDC program to develop programmatic areas that generate a significant volume of knowledge in different aspects of media development, complementing the other C5 expected results in an effective manner, providing IPDC's added value, that's the developmental nature, the normative capacity, grassroots level focus, among others. So these special initiatives have also contributed to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which includes these two indicators which is mentioned and for which the IPDC advocated before they were approved and now monitoring under implementation. These special initiatives also, particularly through the IPDC talks, have allowed to sensitize and mobilize stakeholders on the links between access to information and sustainable development. We will turn now on the emerging issues. Huh?
Yes. So just give a quick update on media and migration, on which the 60th Bureau meeting held a thematic debate. And as a follow-up action, support has been provided for the coverage of the ongoing humanitarian crisis of the Rohingya refugees. So in 2017, reporters from Interpress Service, our implementing partner in the region, have produced a series of reports on the communication needs and the appalling conditions of the Rohingya refugees. And the reports have been widely shared by both international and national media. In addition to that, based on the findings and experience of the reporters, they have produced a publication, which is a set of guidelines for journalists for future interaction with displaced communities and reporting on migration crisis. So with this, the IPDC aims to not only promote best practices in covering migration issues, but at the same time, they also aim to bring to attention the communication needs of the Rohingya population.
Okay, so maybe we can now move already to the Bureau decision, draft Bureau decision, of course, for your consideration on this agenda item. It's the next one, which I already mentioned. Okay. So the Bureau decision for your consideration. The Bureau, having discussed this document, may wish to welcome the status report and encourage continual engagement by the IPDC Special Initiatives in contributing to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by complementing other IPDC work and expected results in the division of freedom of expression and media development. Request the Secretariat to continue to strengthen IPDC Special Initiatives, particularly within the framework of the forthcoming strategic framework for the program, and to further position them so that they continue to contribute to the sustainable development through impact on relevant dimensions of media development. And the third item, encourage the program to continue identifying and being responsive on emerging issues, also as part of its new strategic framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Maybe going very fast, I think it's very good. But maybe just to underline that if I understood correctly, these special initiatives are, of course, very wide-reaching and very broad, but they are linked to already existing IPDC activities in a way, and they are financed through, say, not with extra money, but with money that we sort of were able to use the unspent money from before. That's correct.
Yes, the special initiatives have mainly been financed with what we call special allocations. And these special allocations, particularly these last 2 years, they come from balances of projects that were not implemented for different reasons, or which did not use the whole budget. So this has been providing funding for these special initiatives, correct?
Yes, right, we are running fast, but did I understand it correctly that we are going through, you're going through all these 3 items before we are commenting on them, because I have commented also on the previous.
Yes, I know, we have 3 elements, so
yeah, it's, we get them all at the same time.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're coming to the third one. There's 3 actions the Bureau has to take. We've now discussed 2, and the last one is then IPDC earmarked projects update.
Yeah, sorry if it's confusing. So we are going through 3 documents under the same agenda item. So that's agenda item 6. We're going through the report on IPDC Special Initiatives. That's the one that we just concluded with the decision that you saw on the screen, the draft decision. Then we will now, my colleague Veer will report on the IPDC earmarked projects. And after that, I will report on the IPDC complementary funding plus project. So 2 more reports to present.
So we have 4 decisions. 3. Thanks.
I'm not sure, but I think the one we're now going to discuss, IPDC earmark projects, should not be, this is more like something from the past which should work back on, and the decision itself is very simple. So maybe we could go with the IPDC earmark report briefly, and then
each report has a proposed bureau decision. So you just saw the first decision. Now there will be the second report with its own decision, and the third report with its decision. So 3 decisions, but for the time being, we only we have reported on 1. So you have seen 1 decision. Is that clear? So
you presented 2. You presented the one that starts with note the key outputs record. This one. The analytical overview.
Right, I'm speaking about item 6. Yeah, item 5 had 1 decision.
Okay.
Now, item 6, there are 3 decisions. Okay, so 4 in total, sorry. Yes.
Now then we have, after this session, we have to adopt 4 decisions.
4 decisions, absolutely. So if we can wants to report on the second report of item 6.
I don't know if you all have the document in front of you, earmark projects. I'll just quickly elaborate on all the projects one by one. So in parallel to its special account, the IPDC has channeled numerous contributions through the earmarked funding modality. While supporting the concept and nature of the special accounts, donors have expressed preference for the earmarked funding modality, which allows them to pick the subject, geographical area to be covered, and also the type of intervention. And the earmarked funding modality allows them to receive specific reporting on their contributions. So for the biennium 2017-2018, a total amount has been allocated by Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, and Lithuania for a total amount of $837,873 US. I'll just go to the first project, training judicial authorities in Africa. That's 2.1 in the document. So with the support of Denmark, multi-stakeholder capacity building activity was launched in 2017. And this online training module is proven to possess many advantages, as it is accessible, cheap, that can be carried out everywhere by the participants. And this also most likely explains the high amount of participants, 900. Lawyers, journalists, bloggers, and human rights defenders, of which 40% female, participated and strengthened their knowledge on freedom of expression related issues and the role of responsibilities of both journalists and judicial actors. 2.2, so with the support of the Netherlands, Finland, and Lithuania, the IPDC supported global, regional, and national conferences, as well as celebrations of international days. And the IPDC believes that these events play a significant role in raising public awareness and strengthen support amongst all stakeholders for media development. So maybe it's worthwhile to mention that conferences supported by IPDC are always a programmatic part of a wider and ongoing initiative, building sustainable knowledge networks or capacity among local and national stakeholders. And a good example is the multi-stakeholder consultation meeting on the UN Plan of Action held in Geneva last year, as well as the colloquium on journalist ethics. So these events, they show UNESCO's ability, and more specific, the IPDC's unique ability to bring together governments, civil society, media, and academia. 2.3, the IPDC talks. Since its inception in 2016, the IPDC talks have been the main celebration of the International Day for Universal Access to Information. So they serve as a high-profile and innovative event, raising public awareness about the essential role of media development and access to information in monitoring progress towards SDGs. And they also aim to facilitate both bottom-up and top-down advocacy efforts for media development and access to information initiatives in this direction. So a good example is IPDC talks in Afghanistan, and in response to the question from Mr. Berger, the IPDC talks in Kabul resulted in the support of Afghanistan's co-president for the establishment of provincial institutions that inform members of local authorities as well as citizens about access to information-related issues. Another concrete example of how it has contributed to sustainable media development in Yemen, in collaboration with the media partner Radio Netherlands Worldwide, 30 students have been trained in the art of public debating and investigative journalism in a run-up to the IPDC talks. So this next generation of journalists and media professionals have strengthened their knowledge, gain a deeper understanding on the right to seek, receive, and impart information as a prerequisite for sustainable development. So the IPDC talks in Kabul is also part of the nationwide access to information project in Afghanistan, which is 2.4, which were financially supported by the Netherlands. And in this context, UNESCO Kabul organized several capacity building workshops aimed to increase participants' knowledge on the access to information law, its role for journalists and media, and to promote local ownership. These workshops were designed as a train of trainers model to equip participants with the necessary skills and knowledge to pass on their new expertise to fellow journalists in their respective regions and provinces. I'll skip 2.5 and we'll just go to 2.6 and 7. UNESCO's partner South Asia Women's Network is carrying out a gender study that covers 9 countries, of which 4 countries received support from the IPDC in the Netherlands, namely Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and the Maldives. And through nationwide assessments based on the gender sensitivity indicators from media, national mechanisms are being developed to monitor and report on the progress of gender equality in the media environment and the media content in these countries. So if adopted, the methodology will ensure alignment of media in the respective countries that is at par with international standards regarding gender equality. So 2.8, the IPDC evaluation has been made possible through earmarked funding from Finland, but will be discussed after this item by Mr. Berger and the social group. 2.9, which is the establishment or reinforcement of national safety mechanisms. 2.9 is, promoting human rights and rule of law in Ukraine. So to enhance and promote the safety of journalists, training is not only crucial for journalists, but equally for governments and local authorities to be sensitized to the various provisions that can assist in the safe reporting of news. So in this context, a number of capacity building activities have been implemented in Ukraine at the request of several Ukrainian ministries, as well as the European Union Advisory Mission in Ukraine, and 24 security law enforcement officials, of which 50% women were trained on the freedom of expression-related issues and safety of journalists. So within this priority area, the IPDC has spearheaded the reinforcement or establishment of national safety mechanisms on the safety of journalists, and projects were carried out in the East African region, Latin America, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. And the last 3, it's maybe interesting to mention that the last 3 countries are currently ranked as the most dangerous countries for journalists. In East Africa, the IPDC has sought various collaboration mechanisms in order to advocate for and gain momentum on the safety mechanisms in Nairobi. So a regional conference in Nairobi resulted in the establishment of a network of government focal points for the safety of journalists and the adoption of 2 resolutions, which is a good example of UNESCO standard-setting instruments. So in Pakistan, similar approach was followed and led to an agreement to establish national safety focal points. In Latin America, judges were involved in the roundtable discussions on this matter, and they agreed to produce a publication on how to improve existing monitoring tools. In Iraq, a consultation meeting with non-governmental and governmental stakeholders was held, and they will formulate a development plan for lawmakers and judiciary on the safety of journalists. In Afghanistan, a conference was also organized in this regard, and which was also used to collect input on the journalism safety indicators.
So in sum, institutional infrastructures have been or will be strengthened through the appointment of national safety focal points, and both non-governmental and governmental commitments have been made that will spur further cooperation on this matter. So finally, I just want to add a few remarks on the earmarked projects in their totality. So in all its projects, in the earmarked projects, but also the non-earmarked projects, the IPDC always prioritizes working with local experts and organizations so that projects are tailored to the local context and specific needs of a particular region or country, which was also the case in the project in Ukraine. So in addition, this contributes to local institutional capacity development, and it encourages local communities to participate more fully in the process of development. As regards gender equality, the IPDC is contributing to the target of achieving full gender equality in the media by 2030, as pointed out by colleague Rosa Gonzalez. So in all themes and implemented activities, the program strives to balance participation of men and women in its trainings, workshops, discussion panels, and all other activities. So in all earmarked projects, around 25% of the participants in workshops were women. So for UNESCO standards, as already pointed out, this is very high, but still a lot of room for improvement. So the still unbalanced number can be explained as many countries up until today, particularly those with isolated and traditional communities, the role of women in public life is marginal or sometimes non-existent due to traditional conceptions around gender roles. So especially in these regions, the IPDC continues to make concerted efforts to improve and speed up the progress in this regard with local and national actors. So in this regard, in this context, the aforementioned gender equality projects in Asia and the IPDC GAMEC partnerships are a good example. I'll just wrap up here. Yeah,
thank you.
Here are some nice pictures from the IPDC talks. And I'll just quickly read the Bureau decision. So the Bureau, having discussed this document, may wish to take note of these updates as evidence of what the earmarked financing modality can achieve in terms of complementary projects regarding IPDC's priorities and special initiatives in the field of media development.
Thank you, Johan. So one more thing to go before we can have it open debate. I think this is going to be very short. Rosa, you'll do that?
Yes, very short. So I'll take you through the document on IPDC complementary funds in trust projects. So this is the third report of this agenda item. Sorry if it's a little bit long and maybe confusing. It will also have its own decision at the end. So you will see the report includes 4 projects. The project financed by Malaysia, post COP21, which is focusing on monitoring and reporting on climate change in Asia Pacific. So you will find in the report the key outputs, mainly climate change reporting modules and guidelines, 170 trained journalists, professional networking strengthened, and then also please be aware that there's a second phase of this project in the pipeline, which should allow us to do South-South cooperation between Africa and Asia. Second project reported in this report is a Funds in Trust project financed by Spain on preventing violence and promoting gender equality in Morocco and Senegal. So also very quickly, the key expected outputs, and expected because it has not been implemented fully yet, is 5 capacity building activities foreseen, Morocco-Senegal forum on these issues to be organized, the national press, currently in the pipeline National Press Council reinforced in Morocco, and also be aware that a second phase is being considered by Spain in Mauritania. Third project reported is the Funds in Trust project financed by Sweden on defining Internet universality indicators. You already heard about these indicators, so it's a follow-up to Council and General Conference decisions calling for further work on indicators on Internet. So a set of draft indicators has already been developed. Guy already mentioned this in his opening address. A multi-stakeholder consultation process already took place with over 1,000 stakeholders consulted in 21 countries. Online consultation mechanism was set up, and also 28 face-to-face activities. And currently this is being pre-tested worldwide, and it should be presented to the Council in November this year for consideration of the Council, but also was presented informally to the Council during the information meeting last September for those who were able to attend it in Paris. So there's also a decision on this report. Oh, sorry, I was forgetting one. So funds in trust supported by the European Union in Gambia. So this is a component, a media component of a larger project for an important budget for UNESCO standards of $767,000. So this project has allowed to strengthen training institutions like the University of Gambia and the Gambia Press Union. It has also supported capacity building and public awareness around sustainable development issues, facilitated economic viability of media houses through mainly training opportunities on these issues, has provided staff training and equipment to media houses in the country, and particularly to community radio. So the decision, the Bureau decision, the draft Bureau decision takes, the Bureau may wish to take note of these updates as evidence of what the funds in trust financing modality can achieve in terms of complementarity or in terms of complementary projects regarding IPDC's priorities and special initiatives in the field of media development. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. I would like to proceed as follows. We have under item 6, 3 proposed Bureau actions or decisions. Let me finish. And there's one decision on item 5. First, I would like to check before we start the discussion, which would be more general nature, if any of the members have objections to the proposed decisions. Maria.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I don't have any objection. The issue is that maybe we could discuss first, because there are many elements that we have to consider now before to take the decision. We cannot take the decision if we would have discussed.
I know, but I just wanted to check, because the discussion, of course, will be different if the outcome will be a change in drafting. Therefore, I ask you.
I have some amendments to this decision, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. So please, if you first.
Any other members have amendments to make? Yes. Okay. To which decision?
The IPDC's what is the item 6, 62.6.
6?
62.6. I'm a bit confused about this item 5 and 6 because I don't think they are in line with the numbers of the.
Okay. So that's maybe then just start with item 5, which is
item
I think
5 is that number
the
6.
analytical thing.
Item 5 is number 6. Yeah. Is this item 5?
Item
yes,
5 is
because
the
that's analytical. 6, yeah. So that's why I'm a bit confused.
Okay, sorry. I'm talking about the analytical overview implementation report. So the analysis that I would assume that would be the most discussed worthy topic. But before I forget, I just want to acknowledge the arrival of Mr. Guzman. You quietly came in. Welcome. You will participate as observer, but welcome to the Bureau meeting. So then let's open the debate on the analytical overview. Morgan was first, because he already asked before.
Okay, I've got some comments and we've got a proposal and amendments. First of all, thank you for all the job you've done once again and explaining about what's going on and what has happened on these topics. if you look at this item, I have got some comments on it. The first comment I've got is about the key outputs. Knowing that it's a huge job that you are doing, it would have an impact if we could get even a bit further and look on the results, on the future results of this. What has happened after the outputs coming just now? But I mean, what would the impact be? I think that's important for allocating resources for the upcoming projects, that we get more on that. So it's not like to criticize what has happened, just to have a sort of add on this. I think if you look at the key challenges, here again, there's an awareness about how big the grants are, that we should be very much aware not to put too less resources and make it too low, because then we get into a problem. And that, I think that shows how important it is, and we'll come back to that when we look at the evaluation also. But that shows how important it is to not to spread our money on a lot of projects, but be sure that we can have some projects that really can be carried. There's also mentioned in this document that that in some of the projects that there have been difficulties to meet the administrative requirements. It could be interesting to know exactly what sort of obstacles do they meet? What sort of administrative requirements they are meeting and cannot fulfill? Looking at the amendment we've got, it is the last paragraph at page 8 that should be put into an amendment. So that should also be an action. The result-based management. And I think, Gordon, you've got.
Do you want to add?
Yes, want to add it.
Add one sentence to the.
Want to add it as an extra bullet point.
Okay, maybe you can read it.
Yes, I will be done here.
We actually want to have it directly in the decision. What is said in the last paragraph in the text. So maybe we could say, request the IPDC Secretariat to develop the implementation template to be more result-based management compliant. Pardon? Yes. Request the IPDC Secretariat to develop the implementation template to be more RBM compliant. Yes.
Give the floor to Maria, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. Yes, indeed, this is a very, very important item on our agenda today. I totally agree with my colleague from Denmark that there are some problems in this issue, that yes, it's all the time is the issue of the resources. And first of all, before not losing my point about the data of the presentation for the future, I recommend, for example, that the issue of gender equality, maybe, as Rosa mentioned, the implementation is much more than is reflected in the document, because it's 10%, but it will be more than 20% in the reality, is due the earmarked projects. So I recommend in the future that this document could be include also the earmarked projects in the data. Maybe we can put a table saying, for example, that the non-earmarked projects are the data is just like that, 10%, but the totally of the, because otherwise the persons who are not members or the rest of the members of the council, when they check this, they could see, oh no, why gender equality is so low, and this is not true, because in the reality, for example, many other countries have made earmarked projects for gender equality. That's one point. The other point is about the issue that Denmark mentioned previously, that is the issue of the resources. And we consider, Mr. Chair, that this challenge is, I think, is the most important challenge for the program. And maybe, as Denmark mentioned, maybe we could consider to allocate resources to the great projects, to projects that they are very strong, even that they could be regional projects. I remember carefully that Albana suggested this in our last meeting. That is because if not, for example, if you look at the paragraph 1 in page 6, that one project, for example, that the amount granted by the IPDC was only by $5,000, so that is nothing. And this made it impossible to implement any projects and activities. Maybe I don't know how to do that, because the financial crisis of the organization is one of the key issues, and also the main challenge is how we are going to grant these resources and to distribute to all the projects that are there. So maybe it is better not to allocate or to ask to reformulate some projects that for the program and for the bureau are important to reformulate and to present for the following year, but not to say no in principle, because there are some projects that are very, very interesting, that are fixed with the priorities, and is one of the recommendations of the evaluation, and also from the governance process, because you remember that one of the specific recommendations of the working group on governance is to analyze how we are going to redefine the 6 priorities, how we are going to get the balance of the 6 priorities. So maybe we could think for the next year, or maybe for this exercise that we're going to do in this afternoon, is to try to one point what valid that we could say to submit this document. Or if not, I can give to Rosa by written, but I read it. Is to submit this document to the 31st Council session for its consideration. Why, Mr. Chair? Because as we have seen in the evaluation recommendation, also in the governance process, we need to merge and to interlink the work of the Bureau with the Council. And then if the Council doesn't know what is happening with the project, because we don't want that the Council decide all the projects. That is not practical. The issue is that the Bureau can approve the projects, can consider the projects, because this is more practical. But the political decision is from the Council. So it's important that the Council knows all these challenges that the program has, because otherwise we can lose the visibility of the program that we have gained in the last months, in the last years, with all the activities that the program, that it's very diverse activities. So we consider that it's very important that this document could be for the consideration. And
maybe you can read it once again. Now it's on the screen again, then Jihan can type it.
Okay, so maybe it will be at the end, because I totally agree. Also, we don't have problems with the...
Okay, it's already there. You're very fast.
Okay, very fast. So thank you so
very
much.
Good.
I agree also with the proposal from Denmark. We think that it's very important also that the template could be considered, and then at the end to submit this to the. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
And are there other Bureau members who want to comment? You want to turn around?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So, first of all, thank you for the report. So it's very useful. And I just wanted to ask the one question. Is concerned in some cases the legal national contest might be a challenge for achieving results. So, as I understood, so it's concerned the project, the aim that's building capacities on freedom of expression and media freedom, right? Yeah. So it's challenging when the capacity building of the freedom of expression and media freedom, right? If I understood it correctly. So, but I see that it's just a comment because you know that it can be a challenging opportunity because when you start the capacity building projects, you know that the stakeholders are getting aware about the international standards and what are the gaps between the national legislation and how it should be harmonized. So I don't think it's a challenge. It's also an opportunity. This is my question. The first one is the allocation of the law budget. As law budget is always has been my concern as well, because especially for the countries like Mongolia, where we don't have many the donors to request the local funding it's a really big issue. And that's why, you know, that I would suggest to more clear not the decision or condition action saying that not really we're considering the budget ceilings. Maybe consider making the budget allocation that are more in line with the demand, because it's a small grant. It's a small grant, so that's why. Am I clear? Okay. So the second question is about so we still missing information. Information on these projects listed in Annex 2, right?
But
still missing. Okay. So it would be good to consider the delay, or if there are not serious the problems with the submitted reports. Of course, it's good to consider it in any action. And I also, you know, that I'm not clear sure improve the methodology. And maybe we should think about the template of the project proposals, request more information, or maybe also reconsider the report template to have the more information. So also they agree with Morgan saying that to develop not methodology, how it's okay. So of course the information on lessons learned, but the proposals are very good. So generally we support the action. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Thank you very much. I just would like to clarify, I'm not sure if I understood it right, about the 10% of the gender transformative focus. Does it mean that out of the 37 projects, only 10% which give the attention to the gender gap? I'm just wondering about the evaluation which usually take place in the project evaluation, which also take into consideration the the gender beneficiaries in each program that to be approved. Just to make sure, is this reflected also within this? I mean, usually when we support a project, we also look into the gender gap and the beneficiaries of the program that's requesting the fund. And usually we don't give an agree for a project that is not showing this. So if we are getting a low percentage out of these projects, then is it the implementation after approving the fund? The plan is changed. It's just raising some questions about what can we do to follow up on the implementation to make sure that those organizations who are requesting for the fund to implement what they said that they will implement. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I noticed that there are some questions related to general topics which have been discussed at several bureau meetings, but the budget being too low, etc., and the way the money is allocated, the guidelines, the criteria. I saw Sean already wanting to have the floor, because I think this will all come back in the evaluation. Maybe if you agree, I would like to ask the Secretary to reply on the more specific questions. For example, your question and the question Maria raised on the gender issue and how this is measured. That we take that as a further information, and that we keep the general debate on the budgets when we come to talk about the evaluation, because then otherwise we will be repeating the same debate twice. Morgan, is that okay for you?
I shall be brief. Our proposal, the amendment request the IPDC Secretariat, we would like to have it, Denmark would like to have it at the third bullet.
I would like to come to the...
Because that's very concrete.
That will be first ask the Secretary to reply on the technical question, then we finish the decision.
Yes, so to respond to the representative of Oman, there's a distinction between gender-sensitive projects, and then the other levels of projects can be gender-responsive or they can be gender-transformative. So the percentage that I gave was for gender-transformative projects, which are projects that are actually making structural changes that are really having an impact on the balance between genders. So that's the type of project for which we have 10%. For gender sensitive, all IPDC projects are gender sensitive. If they're not gender sensitive, we don't consider them. So they are, all submitters are obliged to show on the template the percentage of females, males, and then to develop on how the gender component is considered in the project. So that's the distinction. So we're close to 100% for gender sensitive, but then it's 10% for gender transformative. 25 if we take all the modalities together. I hope that explains. Also to respond to Mongolia, I think that when we move to the decision, there's a way of grouping two decisions so that we can respond to what you mentioned on the second part of how to go about the low budget ceilings. And then, yes, what you mentioned about this challenge, we also had to read twice, because remember, this is really a summary of what we have received through the implementation report. So this is what the field is telling us. So we also had to read twice when we saw this phrased as a challenge. But our understanding is that it means that in countries where they can be even media hostile environments, and the project is focusing on fostering freedom of expression through different activities. When it comes the time for implementation, that can be a challenge, because on the one hand you have maybe restrictive laws, on the other one you have activities that are trying to foster certain international standards that are not yet in place in that particular country. So that's how we understand it. Of course, it can be a challenge, but an opportunity, like you said. So.
And maybe the one on the administrative, the Morgan's question on the, that sometimes people cannot meet the administrative requirements. If you can explain a little on that.
It can be very simple. For example, the bank account not having the same name as the contract holder. So our administration will not accept that. Then you have a problem. They have to open a new bank account. Sometimes they can simply not implement. It has happened because they have a personal bank account and UNESCO will not transfer funds to a personal bank account. That's one type of problem that we may have. Sometimes in some countries they may not be allowed to receive funds in dollars because it's not allowed, local restrictions. So we can find several types of barriers.
These are very practical issues, which, of course, if you look at the amounts of money people get, sometimes the administrative requests can be, say, a bit out of context. They're asking too much for the kind of money they can expect. And I can understand there's frustration there. I think your question, Maria, was also replied to, so maybe we can go to the decision now.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a very small point. The wording on there is a bit different to the wording on your paper, because we saw on your paper, you see bullet point 3, communication to field officers. It's just the wording we said, request the Secretariat to communicate. It's exactly the same, but it's just it's written more as a, the wording on the screen is the wording we'd like you to consider, because the wording here is not in the form of a resolution. So we kept the same idea. It said request the Secretariat to communicate instead of just saying communication.
Okay.
Just to,
okay, can we go? There was one request by Morgan to move your addition up. Is that true? Yes, please.
Yeah, just one more comment on this, because I think it was very useful what you said, Rosa, about the final reports. When you got the final reports, you could consider if that would be a good idea to also to have as a bullet point here that we're doing this, or is it already in the bullet point somehow? And I think it's up to you to consider how we can make it best. But I think it's very important what you said.
So you want to add another bullet point to the decision? Yeah? Okay. Can you do that? Can you type it there? Yeah. Do you know what to type? Yeah. No? So somebody has a. You can suggest the text, Rosa?
Maybe it can be, in terms of importance, it can be the second one, if you think that that's appropriate. And that could read, request the IPDC Secretariat to, so we would move it as the second bullet. To include fully implemented projects in future analysis.
Yes.
I'm sorry, is it what you were suggesting? Is that actually changing a procedure?
Actually, we can do two things. We can just say to include only fully implemented projects in the analysis, and then we include what has been implemented. So that would automatically be projects approved 2 years ago, and maybe some approved last year or the year before the meeting, which have already been closed. Or if you want to make it more specific, we can say to include fully implemented projects approved 2 years before the Bureau session. And then we focus only on those approved 2 years before. or if you want to leave the door open, to include also some that may have already been implemented from the year before your decision.
I think we should leave it open.
So
it will be a bit more flexible for you if we leave it open.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that last bit out. Okay, can everybody, it's difficult to read for me without glasses, but maybe if you can read it.
So let's go one by one.
One by one.
What we have. So note the key outputs recorded in the implementation reports as forming an important knowledge base that can inform ongoing and future decision making regarding IPDC support to future media development projects. Should I stop here in case somebody has any comments? It's okay? Then request the IPDC Secretariat to include only the fully implemented projects in the analysis.
If I can say, delete only, because then you are also more, I think if you say only, that will be exclusive. If you, so delete only.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that's okay. Accepted. Then the third one.
Okay, then the third one, request the IPDC Secretariat to keep improving the methodology of this analytical.
It's a moving target now.
Okay. Request the IPDC Secretariat to keep improving the methodology of these analytical reports to ensure lessons learned and recommendations are well taken into account, and request maybe to develop the implementation template to be more RBM compliant. These two could be maybe merged.
Oh, yeah, to merge too. That's good. Yes.
So yeah, and yeah, to develop and to develop, it's already there.
Yeah.
The implementation template to be more RBM in capital letters, compliant.
Yes?
Yes?
That's acceptable to everybody. Then the next one.
Request the Secretariat to communicate to field officers failing to submit implementation reports that an absence of a report can jeopardize future allocations to projects in their office.
That's a clear warning. Good.
Then reconsider budget ceilings. Here we have to make a decision. Reconsider budget ceilings for projects to be submitted under the non-earmarked modality, and, or, here you have to decide each one, consider making budget allocations that are more in line with requested budgets. I think that what was said around the table would go more along the second one. So we would delete then the first part, and we would say consider making budget allocations that are more in line with requested budgets.
Right, I think it's good. Yes?
And then submit this document to the 31st Council session for its consideration.
Yes, I think it's an important point by Maria. If that's acceptable to all, we can take this decision. Then we have three more, which should take less time, I think. The first decision related to the report on IPDC Special Initiative and Emerging Issues. Is that the one, or you?
Yes, yeah. You need to read it, maybe?
If you read it as a whole. Maria?
I would like to add also the same that we put in the order to submit this document, because we consider it's very important also the initiatives and the concept.
I understand. So you want to, but then we'll read it first, yes, and then we add your last one.
Yes, thank you.
So welcome the status report and encourage continual engagement by the IPDC Special Initiatives in contributing to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by complementing other IPDC work and expected results in the division of freedom of expression and media development. Yes, request the Secretariat to continue to strengthen IPDC special initiatives, particularly within the framework of the forthcoming strategic framework for the program, and to further position them so that they can continue to contribute to sustainable development through impact on relevant dimensions of media development. Encourage the program to continue identifying and being responsive on emerging issues also as part of its new strategic framework, and submit this document to the 31st Council session for its consideration.
Okay, that's accepted. Berger.
Thank you. We have a small amendment to the first paragraph. So what we suggest is welcome the status report and encourage continual engagement by the IPDC Special Initiatives in contributing to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by complementing the work and expected results of the Division for Freedom of Expression and Media Development. And why that amendment? That is, for us, can it be a little bit unclear, and it can also, it actually is a little bit in the line of the external auditor's report of labor of the Secretariat and the IPDC. Because here it's IPDC's work that is true, that has to complement and the work and expected results of the Division of Freedom of Expression and Media Development. And I think for us it is, we actually read the paragraph 2.4 where it says, as now I'm not in the decision, but in the document, as the custodian agency for indicator 1610.2, UNESCO is officially mandated to undertake the following. It's UNESCO and it's not IPDC. And of course, IPDC can make work complementary to the Secretariat, and that is what they are there for. But it is actually to make it clear. If you
we can then
understand.
just say, after contributing to the implementation of the 2030 agenda, and then
by
complementing, but maybe say
the work,
contributing in general to the results of the.
Just complementing the work and expected results of the Division for Freedom of, but because it is obvious that it is the work of the IPDC.
So we strike out other IPDC work.
Other IPDC, and just say their work. We think it makes it more clear.
Yes, I understand.
And then the results of.
So this is the text as it stands now is agreeable to everybody. Yes, right.
Just to clarify what was meant, of course this can remain like this and it's fine, but what was meant, this is the report on the special initiatives. So we wanted to highlight that the special initiatives complement other types of support provided through other modalities. So through the annual project proposals, or through earmarked projects, or through funds in trust projects. So this complements all the work of IPDC, but also the work of the division. So we meant the two, but if you think it's confusing, we can live with this, of course.
Mr. Chair, maybe we can, this is an issue of language. Maybe we could say Agenda for Sustainable Development and the complementing work of the IPDC. Not to put other, because I understand the concern from Denmark, but maybe we could say it and the complementing work, because Rosa has said is true. We have other initiatives that even maybe with the other programs from the science sector, that is the IPPT. Do you remember that, for example, in this document, we have reflected the issue of the extremists, violent extremists. That
So I think we're now building maybe too much in this. This is the minor parts of the what we're doing, and now we're trying to link it to everything else we do. So either we make it a very general one, or we make it a very specific one. The specific one would be that this is on top of what IPDC is doing in the other earmarked fund interest, etc. Or it's a more general, in line with what Denmark suggests, that everything IPDC does is in complementing the UNESCO work for freedom of expression and media development in general. But then, of course, if we do that, we can add this sentence on every decision we have. So then it's also a bit repetitive. So I think I understand Rosa put it here to make clear that we have the regular IPDC work, and then there's money that's left over, so to say, and we use it for special initiatives. And just to underline that these special initiatives are not something totally different, but that they are in line with the general IPDC activities. So if you rethink that, I would suggest to then take away the expected results of the division of freedom of media, etc. Because then we do not bring in something new. Yes?
Okay.
So then we keep the old one, so by complementing other IPDC work, we'll stop.
By complementing IPDC work.
Yeah. Okay? Then I use the gavel. Thank you. Then the very short decision on the IPDC complementary fund and trust projects update. Yes, earmarked, sorry. Can we have it on the screen? Can you read it?
So the Bureau, having discussed this document, may wish to take note of these updates as evidence of what the earmarked financing modality can achieve in terms of complementary projects regarding IPDC's priorities and special initiatives in the field of media development.
Mr. Chair, only I was thinking that, well, this is special because I know that the earmarked projects are because of this is the initiatives from the donors, but I don't know. I am not sure if we should present to the council. I don't think so, but maybe the secretariat could put this document online so that the rest of the members of the council can also be updated of this important initiative.
Okay, we will ask the Secretary to do that, and I don't think that's a problem. So we keep the decision as it is, already hammered. And then we have the last one on the fund and trust. This is the text already? Yeah. No, this is another one. I have it here, I can read it. The Bureau, having discussed this document, may wish to take note of these updates as evidence of what the fund and trust financing modality can achieve in terms of complementary projects regarding IPDC's priorities and special initiatives in the field of media development. That's
Chairman, the same, that this document could be online also for the rest of the members of the
You don't want to add that?
No. Thank you so
Morgan?
much.
But I mean, everything what we are deciding now will go to the council anyway. So I mean, we don't need to make this explicit.
No, but I think Maria's point is picking up on what the General Conference has decided, that the connection between the Bureau and the Council should be closer. So in that line, we can do it. Yes? Okay. Let me see. Sean, are you ready? I think we have now, it's 12:10, so we still have two important items to discuss, but we'll start with the evaluation, and I invite Sean to give a brief introduction. Sean, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks first very much for inviting me, and I'm delighted to be here. The big issue in this evaluation is whether after 37 or 38 years the IPDC has outlived its usefulness and is beyond reform, or whether it can continue to evolve and whether the goals it addresses are still relevant. That was really, I think, part of the thinking behind it, and the approach that we took was to ask the question, do the unique features of the IPDC, including its structures, its implementation modalities and so on, add specific value to the outcomes that it achieves that would not otherwise happen. So it wasn't simply a question of looking at, okay, what has the IPDC achieved? It's a question of whether the specific approach and modalities of the IPDC actually add additional value. And so that was at the basis of the evaluation. I'm going to outline the conclusions very briefly. Probably better I just run through it. It should take no more than 10-15 minutes, and then you can raise issues afterwards. Well, we have it too. Yeah, okay, it's okay. And after the conclusions, the recommendations that come out of the report. I divided the outcomes into 4 areas, so I'm going to begin by having a very quick look at what the outcomes following the evaluation of IPDC were. I should say that I was looking at the period 2011 to 2017. First of all, in relation to the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity, as we have heard, the governments are becoming more responsive at international level due to the DG's report, to various publications, to various meetings and events that have been supported by IPDC, led by IPDC, but also supported by a host of other organizations. There's strong evidence of that at the international level. Also at the national level, the actions taken by IPDC can be very, very important in reinforcing that impact, because really at this stage, at the international level, it is a kind of intermediary outcome in the sense that journalists are not yet feeling the benefits on the ground. In fact, for many journalists on the ground, things are going in the wrong direction, and in a number of countries it's becoming more and more difficult to practice their journalism in safety. However, it takes time for the types of activities that IPDC and others engage in at international and at national level to actually have an impact. But some of the national level actions, including the JSIs, are beginning to have an impact on the ground, which is very important. There's also evidence of growing impetus at both national and international level. So outcomes there, I think, are pretty positive. Moving on to the second area, very important area, media sector reform. It's a core area for IPDC. The media development indicators, and now there was a fairly good evaluation undertaken a few years ago. The work that I did could complement that evaluation and certainly reinforce its conclusions that the MDIs do and can and have influenced policy and legislation in concrete environments in a better direction. But they also can guide donor action in the sense of creating a framework to which donors and others can respond and assess the situation in a given country, which takes a fair bit of work. Maybe more important than either of them is that it enhances dialogue. between the stakeholders in a given country and widens the space for discussion, especially in the direction of civil society, to include them with the other stakeholders. And it helps UNESCO in these countries to build relationships when it's... the point about the MDIs is that it's not really about the report, it's about the process. The report is important, but the process is probably more important. In this area as well, we included the projects coming from the special account. And here we found, yes, over those years, that some sector-critical support to community media did have an impact in a number of countries. I say sector critical as distinct from contributing to individual media, community media organizations, but that a lot of the impact that we can see was actually before 2012 in a number of countries. Partly that's because of evaluations that I'll come to later and the absence of evaluation of what's going on, but certainly there have been sector critical impacts in community media. There's some limited evidence as well of impact from the gender indicators. However, these indicators are implemented at the level of an organization and not at the level of policy, and that should be borne in mind. And of course, they are ongoing. Outcome Area 3, knowledge-driven media development and SDG indicators. The KDMD Special Initiative has seen no major outcomes and impetus is dissipating. Now, I noted that this evaluation went back to 2011. That's when we began, and that's when around the time that this was launched in the first place. And it had quite a different meaning at that stage, and a number of efforts were undertaken. There were some immediate outputs, if you like, but since then the area has gone down. But the SDG indicator-related actions have moved into the same space, and in fact, if anything, increased the profile of this particular area. It's too early for outcomes, but we've already had quite a lot of discussion about the indicators here, and we would hope, I think it's reasonable to expect that there will be positive outcomes in the context of having an impact on achieving the SDG targets and in strengthening media in other sectors at last, by leveraging the activity of UNESCO in the data gathering area and using projects so that in the UNDAF and in interregional fora that a greater influence can be had there. Now this has gone into in more depth in the report. I'm not going to go into it here, but certainly that's an area of great potential. Outcome Area 4, reinforcing journalism education institutions. The Global Initiative for Excellence in Journalism Education. It has seen little enough action or tangible outcomes that are, if you like, separate entirely from other UNESCO activities. However, it has to be said that it is a core area of IPDC from the very, very earliest stages. So it's also an area of need in many countries. And there is evidence that the IPDC project investment at the level of projects in journalism institutions is needed and can work. And I visited a couple myself. But it does need strong local strategic support, meaning that the institution itself, the project for the amount of money that's in it is very small, is not really going to do much. But it can be used if the institution really wants to up a gear and to enhance its activities. The project can be used in that context. And this relates, I think, to some of the recommendations later on to try and focus the actions more effectively. And this relates also to the need to review some of the support mechanisms which is contained in the recommendations. Area 5, non-sector critical skills and capacity building. What I'm referring to here is where small grants are going to community media, going to journalists, groups and so on for training. There are real benefits to individual community media and journalism outfits, but they are very often short-term and not sustained. Now, those benefits can be very meaningful, and maybe somebody else isn't going to pay for them at all. So it's not to say that they're meaningless by calling them short-term and not sustained, but you have to look at the context. You cannot just throw money at them willy-nilly, in a sense. In some cases, they make sense, but in a lot of cases, they don't. The other point to take into consideration here is that it's usually very, very small investment when set against the needs of the sector. the sector being community media as a whole, or improving journalism. And so really making those very small inputs into those sectors, it can be just really kind of throwing away money unless you are actually, you know what you're doing and you know that it can have a wider impact. And some of the cases have had a wider impact where there are no other sources, and we discussed that in some depth. At the same time, it's valuable for field, these small projects can be very valuable for field officers to respond in a positive and timely manner and to build relationships where no other funds are available. Okay, I'm going to move on from the outcomes to the strategic mandate and priority of the IPDC. When I came to this evaluation, I can say that it did, and I was broadly familiar with IPDC, but it really took me quite a long time to get my head around all the terms. And I know for other people entering into the program, we have the funds and trusts, and we have the special initiatives, we have the earmarked, of course, is the latest, we have the special account. And then you also have a kind of real mixture of different qualitative and quantitative goals and priorities. And it took me it really took me a good while and a lot of discussions with the team to get my head around it. And let me add that my evaluation report tried to clarify for other people as well. So if people are asking you sometimes what's it about, you could possibly pull out sections of that report and give it to them, because it did take a while. It's like a lot of institutions, it builds up over the years, and the people who are deeply involved in it understand it thoroughly. But for people from the outside, there's layers of meaning there. And I think there is a need now for a clear and consistent IPDC core mission that can be conveyed internally and externally along with its strategic goals. A number of the donors that I spoke to felt the same about that. Linked to that is there's a need to identify and document IPDC's unique features. I've mentioned these a couple of times and others have too. Among them are, for instance, the unique combination of technical and diplomatic skills that's contained here, but also contained more widely in the Council. One of the things that I argue is that it's great to see in many cases you have a technical person who's representing, but they're strongly supported then by their diplomatic teams, who really brings that great combination. And that's a real power of IPDC, because you can come to decisions that actually are both technically good as well as being diplomatically acceptable. And it's a good combination. And that leads to the second point, which is IPDC is seen as impartial, independent, and technically proficient in its decisions. The IPDC also offers Council members a platform to learn about communication and media, and to influence the sector in some cases, for instance, around the journalism issue, but in other areas as well. So it is a platform that would not be there otherwise. It wouldn't exist simply in UNESCO as a whole, because it is a specialized platform. And it also does offer at the national level a rapid response mechanism that minimizes bureaucracy and can enable UNESCO and IPDC to respond to emergencies and to emerging issues. So the point about this is that they need to be explicitly identified and documented so that people understand how IPDC is different. A challenge then is to reposition or to position the IPD Secretariat within the broader division to maximize the synergies and collaboration. I won't go into that, but I know it's been a preoccupation for some time. There are clearly huge potential for synergies and collaboration, and they are happening, but they're not happening maybe as much as they could within division, and you'll see recommendations concern that too. The conclusion of the evaluation is that the overall selection and administration of projects, of special initiatives, funds and trusts is efficient and effective. I myself have evaluated other global programs, and I tried to compare them against them and so on, and I find that it does work. It I think it's good to see that actually such a small number of projects are being discussed here at this Bureau meeting, and in some ways that indicates that it's working, that it comes down to that the system is working. The division of responsibilities, which I did look at quite closely because a number of people raised it between the Council and the Bureau, I believe is appropriate as well. Although we recognise that the issue of communication is one that has to be addressed. There is a weakness in monitoring and evaluation. Up to a number of years ago, a small number of the IPDC special account projects were selected and given an evaluation, and they were actually very interesting, although they weren't used maybe to best effect. That hasn't been happening since. There is also a 2015 UNESCO requirement for everybody to undertake an evaluation following certain criteria, and that really should be applied here. But it also relates to what we were talking about earlier. I feel that the earlier discussion about looking at previous projects, what's the term for those implementation reports, that really should be part of monitoring and evaluation to maximize the learning. That should be put in the wider context of that. I didn't want to raise the issue then because, you know, it's an ongoing issue at the same time as being a strategic issue. Monitoring and evaluation does need to be looked at. And the conclusion and the unique benefits generated do justify the specific governance cost incurred by IPDC. That was something that I had to look at specifically. Of course, the governance costs are more or less fixed. They're a fixed cost. That means the smaller amount of income that is generated or funds that are attracted by IPDC, the greater the percentage of the cost. Now, we've seen some significant rises recently, which again makes it more effective. So if you are raising less funding because it's a fixed cost, that the balance changes, and that has to be borne in mind. But I think there is significant potential to raise more funds, and that makes the unique governance structures of IPDC worthwhile in terms of what they achieve. Funding and donor support. This is pretty obvious, really. Despite progress, pressing need to expand IPDC contributions. It's good to see the latest developments. And a broader donor base who have a sustained and ongoing interest in the issue as distinct from one-off contributions, which are welcome, but really the broader donor base. Key donors still believe in investing in media and communication and in IPDC's unique offering, but do seek greater clarity on objectives, outcomes, and complementarities within CI. That's an evaluation, that's a conclusion of the evaluation. I haven't spoken to a number of donors and a number of others on the issue. The IPDC fundraising strategy should be viewed within the wider CI resource mobilization activity. This is a kind of general comment. There is a wider CI mobilization activity going on there, and it has to be seen in that context. Okay, the recommendations. I think I'll be really brief on these. To develop and debate an IPD strategic framework. That relates to the earlier recommendation that I said. Enough said there. This also refers to some of the points that you were raising, that there should be a package of strategically focused interventions in each annual cycle. This was raised really in different ways by quite a number of people. It's a way of overcoming a number of problems, the fact that projects are so small sometimes, the fact that you can have the special initiatives appear to be divorced from projects that are happening sometimes within the same countries, and it's hard to see how everything interlinks. So basically, what we're talking about is that in each annual cycle, 2 of the 4 IPDC or UNESCO regions would be selected, and that there would be a group put together to plan what are the key issues here. How can IPDC's resources and the wider CI resources, and indeed other resources, be harnessed to address those key issues within that region in, say, 2 years' time? So it gives you a planning horizon. It gives you a group that would include civil society, as well as other parts of CI, IPDC, and, of course, relevant members of the Bureau, to actually think about this and to concentrate and say, okay, these two issues are the key ones over this time. We could have a regional initiative, we could have a number of national initiatives. Now, at the same time, the other regions will not be neglected and will be having projects, but it would be a way of concentrating some of those resources on issues that are recognized as being critical within those regions. To enhance the IPD Secretariat position within CI, to improve communication and enhance the complementarities, the report goes into that. To build a communication platform for IPDC innovation and interaction. There's two components to this. One is really about having debate with wider experts and so on, and using the IPDC to actually target a couple of emerging issues and to really throw them around properly and to see whether or not IPD should address them, maybe to have a workshop here and there, that kind of thing, and to be able to enable it to look to the future. The other, and that would be a more closed system of communication, is to improve communication between the Council and the Secretariat and the Bureau. And I think that would be necessary to ensure that, well, the communication hasn't been all that it should be. Another 4, and then I'm finished. To reinforce fundraising with more IPDC Council member state efforts. And here we've seen a couple of member states using, looking at things that are of particular interest to their own governments, their own foreign affairs departments, and tailoring some activities that, if you like, will interest their governments and demonstrate that IPDC can achieve something, and use that then maybe to open up more funding in the future. To reinforce the gender transformation across IPDC activities. And we've discussed that already. To review and to refine the project selection process. Here it's, I think, a matter of tweaking mainly, but don't forget it's also in the context of the wider strategic review that we mentioned. But a number of people did say to me small things that could be used to improve the online system. And then to ensure periodic outcome and learning evaluation of IPDC in line with UNESCO's overall monitoring and evaluation structures, but also to ensure that the learning that is there is being captured and is being and those who need it are getting it. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. You managed to put a lot in a quarter of an hour. So I think we've all read your evaluation report. I think so we have about half an hour before we break up for lunch. So just make a first quick tour of the table, but please be very brief.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for giving me the floor. Thank you, Mrs. Sean, for this important. As we mentioned before, Mr. President, this is a very important item on our agenda, and we consider that the recommendations of the evaluations, without despite the fact that the report doesn't mention nothing about the governance process, even that we have talked about this, and when you made the consultations with the members of the council, the members of the bureau, and all the countries involved in this process. But we consider that the recommendations, Mr. Chair, are compliant with the specific recommendations of the General Conference. Because, for example, if we take the recommendation 88 that says we are freeing the intergovernmental nature, especially of the Bureau, while retaining the expert engagement, that's one of the issues that the evaluation says when Mr. Short has mentioned that it's very important to combine these expert and diplomatic skills. So we think that the program is ready for implementing these recommendations and also this evaluation. The other issue is about the criteria for approval the projects. I think that the recommendation 7 is very, very important. The selection process should be reviewed and refined, not to enhance the efficiency and the transparency. And we're taking note of this, the recommendation 1 about the strategic framework, because we are aware that we cannot do this if the council doesn't approve this strategic framework. That's why, Mr. Chair, we consider that this important document should be submitted to the council, as Mr. Shaw has mentioned in the recommendation, because he says that this strategic framework should be debated and approved by the IPDC Council at the end of the first recommendation. And the issue also of the roles between the bureau and the council also are reflected in this document, particularly regarding the number 2, the strategic focus package of interventions, and also the number 4, that the report suggests an online IPDC communication platform. I think that this will be very useful, because as I mentioned before, one of the key problems is the lack of coordination between the council and the bureau. And it's because the council, one of the main problems is that the council only meets one each 2 years, and this is a very long time to have connected with the bureau and with the members of the council. And that's why one of the recommendations on the process of governance is that if it's feasible, that the council could meet one per year, so that the council could be more involved with the activities from the bureau and with the activities of the program, because otherwise, if the rest of the members of the council are not updated frequently with the activities of the council, the program would lose the visibility that we have. And the last word is the more balanced considerations of 6 priority including capacity buildings. I think that the report, also the evaluation, says that this is very important to have. I think that everything we should concentrate in the strategic framework. That maybe we could include there how we are going to examine these balanced 6 priorities. And that's why, Mr. President, we have some amendments that, when you allow to me, I will introduce to the draft decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If you do that later, we just have the general comments. Much comments to make? Morgan?
First of all, thank you very much for this comprehensive report and evaluation. I think it is very useful and has brought to me and to Denmark a lot of how can I express that, a lot of extra knowledge, and also confirmed many of the discussions that we have had during the past years. I think that's really really useful, and I think to have it in this way, then we are able to implement some of the recommendations that you put on the table here, and from Denmark we can follow the recommendations made by the evaluation team. Thank you very much for that. There are many things, and there are many things to discuss. One of the issues after what's starting here about the strategic framework for the IPDC, and of course should be presented at the council meeting this year, and it should be as inclusive as possible, and build upon the many lessons learned from the actors, what has been demonstrated in the evaluation. And I think it's important that more member states' involvement should be guaranteed, and also, I think this is important to have relevant NGO partners for that. It's not mentioned in here, but I think that's really important. And we, of course, we should have the online consultation process here as well. I might come back to more comments, but I think it's important also when you talk about the package of strategic focused intervention to look at the different things that have been done recently. I visited a country and I suddenly got the information about that. I think that was about it was about community media in that country, and I was a bit proud that they told that these community media were supported by an IPDC project. And of course, I think, well, that's great. Something happens here that I've been a part of in some way. Then I also realized that these media have really been in decline since they got the support and everything was good. So what happens to our projects in the long perspective? And that's why we also discussed it before about the long-term perspective. I think it's really important to bear that in mind also, because it's not just 1 or 2 years and then everything is done and we are happy. It should be sustainable, and I think that's what you said in your report also. So that was just something from real life also to bring back. So when you come out in the field and you see something happens here, we support from IPDC, fantastic. What has happened now? What has been? What is the future of it? I think because this is also something which is important when you approach donors, that you can show here are something that has had an impact and we have made a difference in this field. I'm also glad that you mentioned the gender transformative indicators. I think it's extremely important to have them on top of the agenda also. This is something you really see in many countries, that it's not always that strong, and it's more challenging than we sometimes think they are. It's really a challenging. So I'm also glad that my colleague from Oman mentioned it previously, this topic. I think it's important. So well, yes, I might come back to more comments. We are going to have the roadmap also, and of course it's important that we make this roadmap in the best way.
Yeah, because I welcome our colleague from Zambia, who had to miss his flight, but welcome in our midst. We are already progressed in our agenda as to now we're discussing the evaluation, but maybe you can speak after the lunch. And I would like to ask our rapporteur, maybe if you have already some comments on the debate so far.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I should apologize. You know, in Africa, communication is still below par. As I was coming from my farm, going to the airport, I had a breakdown. By the time I was rescued, I found the plane had already left, so I missed my flight until I had to get on the other one. Otherwise, that's what it did. I could have been here earlier than I've done.
We're glad you read it. Thank you. Monsieur le rapporteur, peut-être que vous avez des remarques à faire dans ce stade de débat sur les évaluations.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. En fait, à ce stade de nos échanges, je trouve que les discussions sont très enrichissantes. Je ne vais pas intervenir pour le moment. J'attends tout à l'heure, enfin lors de nos prochaines discussions, notamment sur les projets à venir. Je voulais faire une intervention sur sur un réseau de journalistes au Niger qui s'intéressent particulièrement à l'atteinte des ODD et qui a organisé l'année dernière à Niamey une conférence internationale avec l'appui du programme des Nations Unies pour le développement et qui avait enregistré une forte participation de délégations étrangères. J'avais échangé tout à l'heure à la pause café avec certains d'entre nous et le moment venu, donc, j'interviendrai. Merci bien, Monsieur le Président.
J'attends votre intervention pour plus tard. Naran, you want to speak on the evaluation?
Thanks. So thank you very much for the evaluation report. It's always very curious and to read such evaluation reports, and you also learn a lot when you are reading those reports. So it also gives the good information on the works done, and of course, personally, I'm welcome very much the recommendations, especially the strategic framework, and so I'm very glad that you know that there are some funds available, if I understood correctly, to take the actions. Or not? Yeah? No? To do the, yeah.
So the
to take the actions, yeah?
There's a proposed decision by the Bureau
yeah.
to come after we've discussed
So, yeah. Of course, the strategic framework and the monitoring and evaluation framework, yes, it's very important, and fundraising efforts also. It's a necessity for the IFX, for the IPDC projects, and the visibility, as the Maria also has been mentioned, is very important. So everything is good, in my opinion. It's a good evaluation report, and actually I agree with the proposed Bureau actions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Maybe if I can add something, so my own experience with the IPDC and reading the evaluation, I feel that the evaluation has two sides. It has the critical points, which are reflected in the recommendations, so to say, but it also has a very positive side, in underlining the importance of the IPDC program and underlining the importance of the intergovernmental character of the program in contribution to other UNESCO activities in the field of media development. So also in line with Maria has been saying on to better connect what the Bureau is doing and the Council should know of, I think it's very important that however we are going to communicate with the Council, that we do not only focus on the recommendations, because they are more or less the negative side of the evaluation. So I think somewhere we should also put in the positive appreciation and the confirmation of the importance of the IPDC program. But that, I think maybe we can find a way to do that. And the other thing, of course, is being also representative of one of the countries who's sponsoring. And indeed, the tendency to go to earmarked sponsoring is, of course, linked to the fact that you want to make sure that the money is used in a good sense. And I feel the debate that we had already starting this morning and coming back now also after your remarks on the permanent problem about underfunding, and that we feel that there is always too little money there's always too many projects, which is a good thing, that there's a big demand for projects, big interest to present projects to IPDC. And then there is the regional interests of the different electoral groups and the countries concerned. So that almost automatically leads to decisions which are maybe we are spreading the available money too thin, and then we trigger the debate on if the money is too little, is it still useful? And I think somehow we have to make sure that this is not a repetitive discussion that we repeat every council session. I think in a certain way it's unavoidable, but I do think that what you also find in the roadmap, the idea is that we should maybe rethink the criteria, and that we maybe somehow have a threshold of sizes of project, or the relation between money is requested and the money that is funded, and not just give money to projects because we don't want to leave out, let's say, a country or a region, and that we want to have the percentages of distribution in line with the regional distributions. I think that's something that we cannot, of course, resolve or find a solution for at one bureau meeting, but it's something that we could then maybe reflect better in the further elaboration of the recommendations as it will be presented to the council. I think we should leave it at here before the lunch, or so. Please.
First of all, thank you very much for this very comprehensive evaluation report that has all the strategic and informative information about how the IPDC can develop and become much better and deliver better results. I don't have really any comments about whatsoever has been said so far. Just for the strategic mandate of the IPDC, I believe that IPDC is to support the media development, and the priorities is something that should be live and can be always changing as per the needs of the media and the development that's happening, so it's not to be fixed and not to be like changed as per the different happening and the interest of different regions in the whole world. So it should be live and it should be changing as per the need. But of course, the strategic mandate of the IPDC, I believe it's the supporting the media and supporting the communication in general. Thank you very much for this report.
Thank you. Look at the guy, what you
mentioned. I just should have thanked everybody who participated. I mean, I interviewed many of the people here, and the views came from them, and I really appreciate the time. I got great support in doing the evaluation. Thank you.
I suggest that we break for lunch, come back on this issue, and see if we can maybe have some more reflections, but not too long, because there are many other issues on the agenda, but try to focus on how we can accept the decision and how we can maybe the things that not necessarily need to be in the decision, but needs to be communicated to the council. We focus on that. And then the lunch, where does it take place? We have a table together, or it's free for... Okay. For those who are not staying in the hotel, this is the breakfast room is the restaurant besides the pool. The third floor. So, okay, meet you all there and back in this room at 2:30. You don't leave your phone.
I think it's better to take your phone or your computer, but you could leave your documents.
May I please clarify that lunch is offered? So we are offering lunch. So please, all of you, join us.